All right. What is up, everybody? Keith Jameson. Go by Gator Guy 231 on Sorare. You thought it was about to happen, didn't you, Hoop?
We finally ironed that out.
I tried. Alex Hooper, Tilt City FC fame. Prize Picks hoodie. I'm digging it this morning.
There you go. There you go. Got to rep the brand.
Well, it's actually a really great hoodie for the topic today. All right. I didn't think I was going to have the energy for this, but I'm going for it. Hey, Alex.
Yes. Yes.
Show me the data.
I can, and I will.
I don't know if I went full Jerry Maguire there. I needed to scream more, but then that would probably attract my son over here, and then he tries to be screaming, and we'd be the next 5 minutes of just screaming.
It'd be fun. There are times where I want to scream, but it might be a little too early. I don't normally scream at 7 in the morning, so
no, it's
maybe I need to.
Maybe that would be a good way to start the day from now on.
Primal scream therapy at 7 in the morning. I'm sure my neighbors would love it.
I was thinking the same thing. So anyhow, show me the data is the name of the episode. What we're kind of trying to accomplish today, and we're gonna get detoured a ton because that's fun. But the topic is here because I think a really interesting conversation is, do you need data to win? And if so, how much do you need? What sports do you need it in? For what type of player needs it? And again, is it really necessary at all? So before we go, what's your immediate topic when I spew all that? Or what's your immediate thought when I spew all that?
Do you need it? Depends on the sport. Depends on your budget. It just depends. It very much
maybe even
depends.
goal. Even goal, because if you're just running out team after team and you're not going to have any depth, then the data is kind of worthless, because what are you're just running the same guys out anyways,
right
regardless of what the data says.
If you have multiple teams, the data might help you sort the cards you do have into the teams you want to prioritize. But data it's a tool, it's information, but it's not an answer, I think, is the big thing. You need to answer questions yourself before you can use data. And I love catch-all metrics. I love taking data and having it just tell me yes or no. But ultimately, data and projections and things like that are just a guide. So you don't need them. If your intuition is strong, I think that will help you more than anything. And I've had data lead me wrong because my intuition was not correct. My approach was not correct. I just made a video about it, as a matter of fact. I just followed my projections and didn't think about the intangible things and the things that don't show up in the data and the projections, and it bit me. So no, you don't need it. As a matter of fact, it can hamper you if you don't know what you're doing with it.
Right. And I think so. Right when you said your intuition, I kind of love that for those and the Falls VFS. I think one of the better content guys, and then content creators, is Adam Levitan in the NFL streets, and he coined IKB. Have you heard that? All right, it's I know better. It's okay, I see the data is saying all this, but I know better. I know why the data is saying that. I disagree with the data, and I'm going to go ahead and follow what my head tells me is right. And I just think it's really interesting. So all this is a segue, just a short segue. Don't worry, short. We launched a Patreon because there were so many people that Alex, was more than our 6 listeners. It was pretty cool, but more than 6 listeners asked for Alex's data to be shared. So we set it up on Patreon. Alex, why don't you just talk real quick about what's in there, kind of what's the data, and then we'll get to more and more about really who should be using that type of thing. Where do we need it, all that.
Right. Yeah. So patreon.com/sorarefp is where you can find it. For $5 a month, you can get my biweekly MLB projections. So that's just going to tell you who's projected for how many points, median points, headed into a game week based on how many games they play, um, their their recent scoring, their batted ball data, the pitchers they're facing, the stadium they're playing in, stuff like that. You can get that for just $5 a month, $10 a month. You'll get all that. You'll get my value calculations, which include up-to-date pricing information, some of the projected scoring kind of like divided by that price or using the price to determine who is more valuable if you just need to go out and spend right away. You also get access to our Discord, which we've already got a couple of people in there, some experts. Bob's in there. We got more people on the way who can just help you. I'm actually going to try and be in the Discord on the voice stream for the hour before lock on Monday and Friday, so you can ask me any questions you need. I'm generally around all the time, so that's for $10. And there's a $50 tier in which you can have more access to me. That's there for, if you're getting started and really just want to make a splash early. You can set up a monthly call with me, and we can sort out your gallery stuff like that. So yeah, there it is. There's everything
There
right
we
in
go.
front of you.
If I was a good host, I would have had this prepared in advance rather than panicking, noticing that somehow the little video wasn't live on YouTube and all that good stuff.
Same. I would have thought of
Oh,
it too.
also, that's another one good plug before we get unplugging and
Yeah,
go
no
to other
kidding.
order. So the new YouTube page is going. So you will only be able to find something on this show and all of Alex's first pitch stuff on the new show. If you're on the pod feeds aren't changing, but my DFS site, FSI, is awesome. I love my site. We do tons of great content over there, but at the same time,
It's the only
there's a
reason
lot of
I'm here.
DFS feeds that do not have to do with Sorare, and people that are there for DFS looking for that and wondering what this is, which is a really cool cross product, but at the same time hogs up the feed. So we wanted to separate it out. So we are cool. And by the way, I spent entirely way too long on this, but it was so
It,
much fun
it's
just grabbing
gorgeous.
all sorts of cards, and they're all in the two of us collections. So
Yes,
they're all owned by us.
yes, they are.
At least for the time being. So I
Right.
was just super fun to put that together. Looking forward to it. Again, I hope everybody the reception to that is good. We wanted to make it like a price point for Alex that made sense to show the data, right? But also and like make it worth getting it behind, but at the same time not be like a number that somebody couldn't just like not anything breaking the bank. Again, the
Yeah.
topic today, do you need it or do you not? So let's just talk about that. Like lower budget player, right?
Mhm.
And limiteds, putting together one team. Do they need your projections? Do they need data?
I
This took longer than I expected. I love it.
so the reason the best part of my data, in my opinion, is at that $10 level, you can get those value projections. The value projections are what got me to where I am. It's what I knew I needed. So it's the tool that I created when Sorare MLB came out. And I got my price grabber and my projections and just tried to figure out, okay, I think I went into MLB with like less than one ETH, like 0.75 or something like that. And it came slowly. I had to sell off some soccer cards to actually get to that number, but I only had an allotted amount of Ethereum each time. So I decided I'm going to try and get the best bang for my buck. And that's all baseball is. The scoring in baseball is really just raw points. You can get some correlation with guys and that helps. And obviously the best guys on the best teams are going to score well and that shows up in the projections. But I knew that I just needed to churn rewards early and then that could give me the profit that I needed to get to where I was going. So if you are new to So Rare, if you are you know, limited, if you have a budget and you want to get the most out of it, do you need the projections? Do you need the data? Maybe not the weekly projections, but the value propositions, the value calculations are going to set you up better long term to start generating revenue to make your team better. And there are plenty of instances where you can look at a guy who is projected to score X the rest of the season, even if you're not looking at projections. You can have a guy who's way overpriced based on hype. And if you go overspend, you could probably buy about 4 or 5 guys for what it's going to cost to buy that guy. And you've got a pretty solid sunk cost. And unless you sell and get that cash back, then it's hard.
I
It's hard
kind
to
of
recover from that. And I think that is necessary, at least at the start.
I kind of think I obviously I step away real quick, but I kind of think a guy that comes to mind, like when you say like overhyped, is like I love on your like reward videos are when you kind of look at guys and you go, okay, this is another guy that could do the same for that money, and like somebody like Otani, right? You just walk
Right,
in. I don't remember
exactly.
where I saw it on like Twitter, but somebody mentioned I'm being ratted out by the 4-year-old right now for giving him some gummies to keep him quiet. But
The old bribe.
the old bribe. But the somebody like joined baseball and I think it was like a rare team, but
Mhm.
it like was literally just like the who's who, right? It was like Otani, I want to say Hater, Judge, Altuve. It was like whoever like the top guy, like if you just like went like jersey sales, the top jersey sales for every position. I think that's how it was sorted. But to your point with your calculations and things like that, and like and what data would tell you is that Otani for the price, not the best points per dollar guy, right?
So so I'm looking at it right now. Um, Shohei Ohtani as a hitter is projected to be the 13th highest scorer next year. This is just as a hitter. And
Right. But he's priced number
there's
one on the platform, right? Most expensive guy on the platform.
right now his limited is 0.139 Ethereum.
Seems like
You
a
could
lot for a
get
limited.
you could get Juan Soto, Vladimir Guerrero, Rafael Devers, Jose Ramirez, and Matt Olson for less than it costs of that Shohei Ohtani. So that's the number 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 projected hitters rest of season.
I kind of think that would be better. Sounds better to me.
Yeah, it's a
Even as
little
not a
better.
data guy, even as an IKB guy, I'm kind of like, I kind of prefer
Right.
that.
And yeah, you can fill out an entire lineup for what it costs to have Ohtani on your team. And hype is like the great destabilizer, I think, for stuff
I
like this.
I find that the same in football too. Not to jump over, but it's like a
No,
topic I want to
please.
have with football too. Is that like okay, like Joshua Kimmich is flipping awesome, right? But I'm gonna pull up on Sorare data. But I'm curious where he's at. For a while, he was at like 10 ETH. Okay.
Hmm.
And that's all great and all, right?
Hmm.
But I can you can build like 3 very, very, very good teams for 10 each with goalies, with defenders. And if you just played Kimmich by himself with a couple of scrubs, it's not going to do you anything. Even when he drops 100, you're not going to support those things. But if you take a more like data-driven approach, here I'm pulling up 10.2 is his floor right now. Jeez,
Hmm.
Louise. 10.2 floor, right? So like my top team right now, like week to week that I play in Division 3 would be our boy Anthony Morris,
Yeah.
right? Burgess, super rare, that's his defender. Teddy Tuma, the legend,
Of course.
midfield super rare. Probably I have a Tadic, rare for forward, and I'm just thinking Europe. I have a couple different midfielders, but that whole team is, and that's not a cheap team by any means, but that's like 80th,
Yeah.
right? And more often than not, unless I have like a 20 or 22 ETH budget, it's going to outscore what you could surround Kimmich on. Because my point is, it's like Otani, Kimmich, Messi, soon to be Giannis
Yeah.
in the NBA. Like, just name your top guy, your top jersey seller. Teddy Tuma, unfortunately, not selling out jerseys in the yard, but those are guys that there are the right galleries for those type of players. And then there is the rest of us who need to find Matt Olson before Matt Olson breaks out. Need to find Teddy Tuma before he is a legend in the streets. Like all these. That's kind of what I think is really cool about the more data-driven approach. Even though it doesn't really work as well in football, like we're not doing like projections, but if you
Yeah,
dig into the data on like Sorare data, go, man, who's this guy that's pumping out L40s of 60 something. Oh,
right.
Teddy.
Yes, the guy, the man. Yeah, it's so to bring it back to baseball and to put kind of a real life spin on it. I mean, so you see Progressive Field behind me. The Guardians, when I was, still covering the team, were trying to figure out what they do with Francisco Lindor. Do you sign him to a mega contract, a 10-year, 12-year, $400 million contract and tie up all of your money? Or do you try to get a good return on him and build something with what you have? The Guardians ownership is not willing to spend with other owners, other teams, other markets in baseball. So they have to play with a different set of rules. It's the
Right.
same thing with the Tampa Bay Rays. They're
Yep.
famous for it. So what did the Guardians do? They knew they weren't going to be able to sign Francisco Lindor. They were horrible about the PR for it. The owner said, enjoy him while he's here. And it basically said to the fans, like, we're not going to spend money. What did they do? They went out and they traded him for now they're starting second baseman and starting shortstop, all at controllable prices. And they're about to go back to the playoffs as the youngest team in baseball, I believe, a team that was built to compete in 2024 to 2026 because they take this type of approach because they're just maximizing their assets within their budget. And that you can do that in Sorare MLB. I have done that and
Yep.
I think I win rewards in 60% of the contests that I play right now. And that's not bragging. There are a lot of things that go into that, including like the platform not being as big as it will be eventually, but just my budget is so much lower than a lot of the people that I'm competing with. And again, I'm not bragging. It's just, I kind of knew what approach I needed to take because you just need raw points. Like you said, football and baseball isn't a one-to-one comparison because you can have Barcelona beat up on someone
Yeah.
5-0 one day and then face, a mid-level side and have to eke out a 1-0 win and then the scores are just nowhere near. But you can still look at the data and say, I have X to spend. I can get Y out of these guys, or I can just blow it on a Kimmich and then try to find four other guys who start and, hope to eke out what I'm doing math in my head. 260 points. Have Kimmich put up a 100 and the other four
Right.
guys just start and get you 40. Like it's just those are the things that you want to do, and it's just about what route you want to take. And I think that is where the data is key.
And I do think too, within like what you're saying too, is like expectation setting, right? It's like you know, it's okay for the dudes that have a 38th team that Kimmich is like the foundational piece, right? But he's surrounding them with, Messi, Lewandowski, just again, give the name the who's who,
Hmm.
and they are expecting to win first. Like not winning is a letdown, but you attack a different angle, and you can win tier twos, tier threes. In baseball goes to all the way further, but and then build that on, right? Like take the Indian or the Guardians. I almost said whoa, Guardians or the Rays approach, and go like when they're trading Lindor or when the Rays, the one that came in my mind, because I got out of baseball a little bit, but like the last big one I remember was Chris Archer and became Austin Meadows and why am I blanking on the pitcher? They just
Tyler
re-signed him.
Glasnow.
Class now, right? Like
Yeah,
absolutely robbed the Pirates, so to speak.
yes.
Ooh, nice play on words there. Robbed the Pirates.
Nice.
But
Nice little booty.
thank you. That first cup of coffee was good. But those weren't like they weren't trading for all-stars, right? They were building that. So, I think one of the coolest things about Sorare football side, and I'm sure baseball is going to come do too, but it's like our friend Jimmer, never sells, right? And
Right.
like one of my favorite things always is like during transfer season is when somebody a transfer will happen and it's like a guy that was like a backup for whatever like half decent team gets transferred to kind of like a scrub team, but he's gonna like mash now or like goes from Europe to MLS. And it's like, oh man, he's gonna mash, and Jimmer's like, got him, won
Yeah.
him as a reward 3 years ago.
Yeah.
He
Right.
hasn't played a game in 3 years, but he's been holding, and now went from like this worthless card to like a really top card.
And it's similar to what Powell Trader does. I mean, on a much grander scale with a different approach.
Unintentionally,
Yeah.
unintentionally.
But I mean, there's still some intention there of taking on cards and selling them at their peak, and Jimmer's not going to sell, but um, yeah, I mean, Powell's spent $4 million on cards, but also has gained what, five probably
Well,
from trading.
yeah, I mean, is he on baseball yet?
I believe so.
Okay.
Maybe it was a different bot or whatever, and
I
I know
know
he's not a
somebody
bot,
mentioned
but
the Bologna bot made it over to
yeah,
MLB
yeah,
to start. That's a
sniped a
whole different.
Trout, I think. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
different entirely.
yeah, I mean it's oh okay, that's right. Well, the worst part too is like there's the bots that get the misprices on the secondary market, and then there's now the bots that get the card that's about to slip through an auction way too cheap too. So
Yes,
you know,
yeah,
end of the
fun
day,
times.
Terminator comes to so rare.
Yeah, no
the
kidding.
machine the machines are
Skynet.
gonna win.
Yeah.
So no, so let's talk real quick on so we kind of did a little detour with the data on the
hmm
MLB side. I think that we covered that. So do you think that your data approach would work in football?
I think it would need rehauled. Um, I don't think there's ever anything wrong with looking at pricing data and trying to figure out who's going to give you the most points for the least ETH. But the projection system is different. Like projections for Major League Baseball or are easy, speaking relatively, because you've got one league, you've got the same amount of teams, all operating against each other, and you can take data constants, you can take variables that are constant, and you can take a league-wide approach, and there's not a ton of variation from league to league. Like some of the ways that you gather stats and come up with metrics would need constants league to league. So I'm talking like the average amount of X stat in this league, the standard deviation, 80th percentile stuff that I use. You need it league to league, and how you transfer that from league to league would be much different. With baseball, like you can just go to Fangraphs, you can grab projections, you can grab a number of rest of season projections, you can combine them into one average, and you can just run with it. Would it work? Yes, probably,
To an
but
extent.
it's a
To
bit
an
above
extent.
my head. Yeah, like
Yeah.
projections for DFS soccer are always like just because median scores don't matter because it's
Correct.
so event driven, and it's the same for so rare, and it's even harder to get. Like you can't guess when you're going to get an error led to goal. Like there's no stat you can see like, oh, it happens for this guy 1% of times, and then at the most this guy commits it in 4% of
Well,
games.
and actually, like you would want probably. I'm not a data guy whatsoever. Okay, but like you would almost want that thrown out because that's like an outlier.
Exactly.
But to me, like how I approach DFS soccer, right? You know this. So one, I've never touched a projection in my life. Done pretty good, but I can't stand it because my whole deal is I always want to pretend that goals never happen. And it's
Right.
like treat the goal or the assist as the variance and go and
Absolutely.
that's very similar to what we do in sort of football is you go, all right, it was I don't know if you watched the Monday show with Sean and Laird, but they brought up one of the things, this guy would be
Right.
really good if he could just get some more decisives.
Right.
It's like,
High A, but
oh,
yeah, yeah, no
oh, you
kidding.
mean if you just score more goals?
Right.
Easy. I'll just go call him up right now and
Yeah,
tell him,
just
hey, buddy, you could really help me out price wise.
quit
You could
knocking it
just
around the park and just put it in the net. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Right.
So, but the whole point is like you actually get those guys with the great all arounds. And then when they
Hmm.
do spike a decisive, even if it's not very common, then all of a sudden you unlock like the true ceiling. But like knowing what you're targeting is the most important thing. You can do that on server data, you can do all that, all those things. And I don't think it's like a huge, long, drawn out thing. The most indicative things in football are set pieces. No matter
Yes.
that if that's football SO5 or DFS. It's like the same thing. It's like, okay, the guys that are on the ball the most, that toss it into the box the most, had the best chance to get on one of the ends of the goal.
Yeah.
Pretty easy
Yeah.
story.
And I think you can project that sort of thing,
You
but
can.
like how
But I
accurate
also
is
don't
it
need
going
to
to be?
project it. I also don't need to project it. I can just go, oh, here's a good matchup. Here's the guy's set. And here's the other thing.
Exactly.
So with all this data things where I want to somewhat bring it full circle, I think one of the hardest things about like the data approach on Sorare versus like DFS, right? DFS is very easy because at the end of a slate, the team is gone. You pay your entry fee and you start over again. At the end of a Sorare MLB slate or a Sorare football slate, that card still staring at you in the face. Your funds are still tied up. So like,
Yes.
how are you? Because I've noticed you've accumulated quite the collection. Is that at this point on purpose and tactical to keep all the guys so that when the data pops for them, I already have them. I don't have to go to the market. Do you think that you could have at any point when the guy that you targeted because he had a good projection then popped off, could you have sold for a profit? Like, go through that for me.
I've done both. It's it's kind of now become a strategy out of necessity for my pitchers, just because like I can still use limited pitching in rare contests. And now that I've moved up to super rare, I can use rare pitching in super rare contests. So my limited pitching, just looking at the guys that I have: Max Scherzer, Spencer Strider, Shane Bieber, Jacob DeGrom, Charlie Morton, Christian Javier, Aaron Nola, Nestor Cortez, Zach Wheeler, Corbin Burns, Dylan Cease, another Dylan Cease, Justin Verlander. So like I have all these guys because I can use them, but also because like if I resell Dylan Cease, I can make 0.002 ETH right now if it sold at its highest point, and like it's not enough flexibility to help me with moving up, and it's not enough, just liquid
Could
to help me buy anything better.
could you have just let's use Dylan for an example. Could you have when you bought him for that specific matchup? And I'm assuming the second one. I saw that when I was making the graphic. The second one, I was like, oh, is one better than one Dylan sees two.
Yes.
But obviously, you bought him for a specific matchup to add him in a different team because you liked him that much.
Yes.
Um, could you have offloaded? Do you think in the span of that like that week to that game week, staying super short term, and been out even or ahead, or do you think you would have taken a net loss because we know this in like football. I know this more in football, right? I don't know it so much in baseball, but I'm assuming there's a run up when a guy has like a 4 or 5 game week in baseball, where if we looked at his price graph, it probably would start going like this, and then
Yes.
it gets done and sold off, like
Yeah, the market at this
adjust.
point, yeah, the users are savvy enough who are on the platform because most of them are coming over from football. I think once we get, hopefully, an influx of folks who haven't been playing so rare, maybe that doesn't happen as much. So guys like you and I who have been in the game a little longer can take advantage of it a bit. But the way the limited market has been in MLB, it's kind of almost impossible to come out ahead of what you buy.
That's
You have
what I
to find
figured.
a really great deal. So that's why I am sitting on so many of the limiteds that I have. The rares, however, I have flipped quite a bit. I only
Okay.
have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rare starters, and I know I've flipped a couple of those guys based on matchups. So
I'm assuming if you bought early enough too, like in the run up. So like let's say not to get back to the Patreon, but let's say that you like 3 days before the slate comes out, right?
mhm,
So let's say, and I've noticed it's like the midweeks is where the crazy amount of games happen, or
yeah,
like the midweek slates. But let's say, Friday locks, and now I look and I see, the Dodgers are going. The Dodgers are always expensive. I mean, that's a bad example. Actually, probably your good example is what you did this week with the Giants.
With
The
the Giants,
Giants
yes.
are going to Coors for 4 to 5 games. If I see that before the price takes, even if I just want to do a little flipping and fleet, like not fleece the budget, but add to the budget, I probably could
Hmm.
buy early enough and then
Yes.
sell in the run up, right?
Yes. Yeah, you absolutely could.
If you get in early enough, because we've seen this in specialists on football too. So if
Right.
you can find like these, but by the way, I've decided that will be coming to the channel too, is I'm going to do a specialist and underdog
Cool.
strategy video for
Cool,
football.
cool.
But so I'll lead into it. A lot of people probably know, but if you find like the under 40 goalkeepers are like gold for
Yes.
specialist limited, because highest variance position. I'm going to talk like a data nerd for a second. Holy crap.
Hey.
But highest variance position goalie, right? I can use one of my crap spots on the highest variance position. Maybe I could find a guy in a really good matchup. You'll see the lead in. The guy will be priced where he should be. And then all of a sudden, gets to lock. Everybody realizes, oh man, this is like the most optimal guy for my lineups if I want to like maximize my expected value here.
Hmm.
So all of a sudden you get a nice lead up. And I've seen a good amount of people that know this will buy a multiple of that goalie or that under 40
Yes.
player
Right.
and sell into it. And then I think Laird calls it the middle finger graph. So where you get
Yes.
the huge run up and then right off. So it's like a big, you know, middle finger
Yes.
towards you, because when you try to sell back off. But a really effective way to attack specialists is to go, look, I'm going to buy a few guys and I know I'm going to take a loss on them,
Yes. Right.
but I'm doing that because I think I can make. You need to start like looking at what you can return, which I think what you're
Yes.
doing on baseball too is okay. I think I can shoot the dude that won. Did you see what the limited specialist winner this weekend won? Who?
Kimmich?
Kimmich, rare. He won
Yeah.
a 10th card. I don't even remember his name. But I can't imagine it was over an ETH. So he probably 100x'd Kimmich rare. Like that's a game changer, right? You get
Yeah.
a 10 ETH card, and I really hope that guy's already sold it.
Everything changes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, even when I sold, I was doing pretty well at the time, but when I won underdog and I got the Magic Mike card
Magic Mike.
and sold it for 4, like that changed everything. That was
Right.
a big changer. Like I'm not buying a Tucson Tadic card if I don't win, a Magic Mike rare. So like, for you even too, some of the rewards you've won on MLB, financing new ones, your Valverde financing a super rare, right? All these little
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Coming in just tier 2 in Champion Europe football brought me into a new division entirely. So
Kind of
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's what I truly like, love about like how the game forms and how you can like snowball on each other.
But
Um,
that's the exact point where you want the data. That is the exact time that you want it, because if you sell Magic Mike for 4 ETH, you're like, what do I do with the 4 ETH?
right.
Do you reinvest it in one guy or someone? And you probably had an idea of how much of that you wanted to spend, how much you wanted to just keep liquid and
Right.
see what you can do with it. See if Ethereum rises after the merge. There's so many,
You can do anything you
so
want.
many,
Yeah.
yeah, so many variables. But if you say like, I want to spend 2 ETH on this, I want to spend 2 ETH on a super rare MLB team. I want to spend 2 ETH on, entering Challenger Europe rare and just trying to churn out rewards there. 2 ETH might not be enough, but
Nah.
yeah, but just for the sake of like, that is where you want to use the data. I think it helps with how you spend your money more than anything. The projections are great, but unless you have a giant gallery, like my MLB gallery is it's pushing 200 cards.
A lot of
So
limiteds in there though. A lot of
lot
limiteds in
lot of
there.
limiteds,
Yeah.
but I have a lot of decisions to make week by week, and a lot of times I get them wrong. But when I get them right, I mean,
I,
like I'm top 100, I think, in every contest I'm
I
playing
think
right now.
I think what you just said there though too is kind of where I was trying to, even within the topic, was kind of getting to the meat of it. It's like I think the bigger the gallery, the more that you need the data because you're going to have all these 50-50s. And at some point, like I talked with a number of guys that have just huge, OG guys that have huge gallery. And one of the most common things I've been hearing lately is like lineups are taking forever
Right.
for them to says because not only like on the football side of things, and I mean, you just did a video of this in baseball. It happens in baseball too. Freaking A. I've actually seen like how many people are getting burned by like paternity lists. It feels like since baseball's come back, like a ton. Yeah. And that one you can't do
Twice.
that much about,
Right.
unless Trippin's out there scouting the Instagram for us.
Yes.
There's not much you can do on the paternity. Like I got killed by a Carlos Heel, like had a really great game. Then all of a sudden oh, hold on, why is he not with it? And all of a sudden you snap to them, they're like, oh, his wife's having a child tonight. He's like, couldn't have heard that. Like we had like
Yeah, right.
months
Yeah,
to talk about
why don't
that.
these players who routinely have their privacy
Hold
invaded
on.
let us know when they're
I
about to have kids?
Hoop, we need a new data chart of expected birth of
Expected
X
babies, yeah.
son.
Ex
But
ex baby.
but no, so going back to the guys who are like just talking about how it just takes them hours upon hours. And I mean, as MLB expands, because this is not going to be the limit to the amount of you're like, I really hope not, but no, I mean, the underdog and specialists are just too popular. I'm sure there'll be like some form of like a U23, I don't know what that's going to be in baseball, but some version of that. And there's just too many things. And, the more utility they add to the card, the more cards they can sell. But I say all this to go is like those guys on like football, like if there was, I do think like, even though there's a lot of times that we know better,
Hmm.
having data to help you with the sort to go, hey, just that default, I'm going to just go by the data. So I'm going to completely change the subject, but I love this too much. I'm just curious your opinion. So oh my god, I'm like, well, what's the name of the Chargers head coach again?
Brandon Staley,
Brandon Staley. Thank you. Okay.
really quick.
Yes.
He was my neighbor.
All right. Well, then you could talk to him about this, or maybe
Like,
you could. Do you know where
like,
I'm
leg
going with this?
no, but like, legitimately, I grew up two doors down from him. His little brother
So
was like a
so what
family friend.
happened? What happened to him? Could you have like rode his coattails onto his coaching staff, and maybe help him make more
No,
consistent decisions?
I would think his decisions would be consistent because I know he's a big data guy.
So that's where I was gonna go, right? So like I think one of the funniest things for like data. So I'm choosing Staley for this reason because he
You better
is
not
like
talk smack.
all day. No, I'm not talking. I'm gonna talk facts. Data. This is data talk, Alex. We're gonna talk facts. That's the one cool thing about data, right? It doesn't really. I mean, it can lie in terms of results, but it can't lie in terms of process.
Don't
Fair.
lie. Yeah.
Okay, so Staley, right? All of a sudden, all year, like last year, I'm going to go with data, 4th and 3. The data says 51% chance that this yields, 6.2 points and 49% if I do this or whatever, right? That dude was jumping back and forth. And he was like, okay, I'm going to go data here. Oh, no, I feel different here, even though the data says that's dangerous as hell. And like what I was going to say for like the OGs for that are like struggling with like how long their lineups is, like if they just adopted a pure data policy
Hmm.
or a pure feel policy, like choose your lane.
Right. That's true. That's true. But again, know when to use it. If it's a 51-49 proposition, like you're gonna have to go with your gut because the data's not really telling you anything.
But you actually
Um,
should at that point if you're going to go the whole season. And like if you're going to choose 51-49, you're going to choose 51 based on data saying you go for it. Then the next time it happens, you need to do 51 again.
probably, probably. I mean,
That's how data works.
yeah, but I mean, there are other factors, and I know this is, but this is about how you use it. Like risk factor, like if it's 4th and 3 and you're up 30 points, then maybe the 49 is the safer route. If it's 51-49 on 4th and 3
Okay,
and you're
fair.
down 2. But
Okay, so it's a little bit harder when I say football like that because that's not necessarily a fair comparable. But I'm saying, you have the situation again, and you pick it one week and then you choose different the next, and the same type of impact situation and stuff like that. That's where it falls apart.
yeah, if I relied on my interstack in football every single week and started this guy because I know that the data says he's more involved, if I change the next week and I'm like, again, bad comparison because of football and it's tough, but say I have a really great data set and I'm like, I'm gonna buy this stack. I'm gonna use it every single week because the expected yield
Yep.
is this. The expected amount of points is this. But if all of a sudden they're playing Cremonese again at San Siro, and I'm like, ooh, I got a bad feeling about this. I'm just gonna break them up, or I'm gonna spread them over contests, or something like that. Like that's a bad approach. When you start to
But
waffle and don't believe in the data that you're using, yes, absolutely, it's a
you know
bad
what
thing.
I love about what you just said there?
What?
We've seen that so many times, not like breaking up, but it's like you like I can think of one. I'm not gonna say it out loud, but and I'm sure I've done it too, and I just have shielded out. I've scarred over those decisions, but it's like you have the top player in like a pretty good matchup, and you completely overthink it, and
Yeah,
you've like now convinced your mind. Like
I do it all the time.
I know better. I know better here. I know that Mahomes is facing. I almost said the Browns, but that wouldn't have been a good one. I know Mahomes is facing the Jets, but I have a bad feeling that they're going to
Jets hurt.
score seven touchdowns in the first quarter, and maybe I shouldn't play them because it's a blowout. And you now have forgotten to go. Well, they scored 7 touchdowns in the first quarter, and it's a blowout. How did they get all 7 touchdowns?
Right. Yeah, I used to do it in DFS where
Yep.
I would waffle on my process and like one week believe in the no goals and then the next week try, like once I started doing my slate previews and everything, I would look at all these guys. I'm like, oh well, he's got he's plus 110 to score, whereas
Yep.
this guy's plus 330. Like,
Well,
and
you know
then
what the
all of a sudden I believed in goal odds, whereas the other weeks I was just like, who cares? Like they don't matter.
you know what the worst part about goal odds are is, this is gonna like go back to the topic of where like data is just tough, and I think you have to pick your lane. But I've always thought it's funny that guys, in the DFS streets and like soccer will go, oh well, his goal odds are plus 105 to score, and his were plus 110. So I took the plus 105 because the book said that it was better. And I'm like, well, the team of the plus 110 guy was like minus 500 to win, and the other guy was minus 100, or like, was like plus 100. It's like, but I was searching for the goal, and I'm like, right. So the team that was expected to score more goals and win bigger probably. So like there's all these context things, and even like with that, like there's can sometimes be noise too on like prop odds like that. Hey, Prize Fix, shout out. But like, you guys at Prize Fix can take advantage sometimes of public sentiment, right? we know
Absolutely.
we know where the money's going to go. Back to Mahomes, people like betting on Pat Mahomes. There's going to be a lot more action on a Pat Mahomes prop than there's going to be on a Baker Mayfield prop.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I don't know how much of this is I'm actually allowed to say, but like there are a lot of times where we get a lot of money coming in on a certain prop and we're like, we didn't expect that at all.
Where did that come
So
from?
yeah,
What
and
tout?
it just
What touted that?
exactly it's that or some news that we didn't see or something like
Which
that. So yeah,
happens. Which
but
happens.
public sentiment's gonna drive prices and so rare too, and public
Well,
sentiment's a good one.
so back to like Kimmich, right? Back to go full circle, or Kimmich and Otani, right? Why are they 10 ETH? Why is Otani minus it? And yes, production matters, right?
Hmm.
But so I think I had the funny thing, Kimmich was the worst example I could use, right? Because I went to similar players and there's no one similar. I like over the year, the only similar player to on Sorare, the only similar player to Kimmich was Kevin De Bruyne. So that was a
Literally my
brutal example.
literally my two favorite players outside of Tottenham.
a brutal example, but like you can do ones like I could do like here actually let me do a quick share screen. We'll see if I'm about to like eat my words here real quick.
What do you got with Teddy Tuma? What's he looking like? Who
No,
are
no,
his?
no, 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 no. Teddy's who we want to appear over like the name. So I'm gonna go Lewandowski,
Well, I'm
right?
saying like I wonder what names would pop with Tuma.
Well,
Like,
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do the legend. God, so fun. I rebought a rare of him out because it was just making me too sad to only have one version of him, so I had to rebuy it again. Um,
wow,
if I ever met,
I
if
like
I
the
ever,
shaved head look.
oh my god, Teddy's just what a legend.
He
Playing
is.
for Malta, come on, Malta. I was looking at the little the Sorare data has the lineup predictions now. Look at all that green. Oh,
They got
Teddy,
Estonia this week, huh?
Teddy, tough game, man. I'm bated breath. But
You'll be
so
tuned. You'll be
let's
locked into Malta, Estonia.
I want to find like a big okay, look, my boy, similar to Carl's,
What, 1/3 of the price?
1/3 of the price. Don't remind me because I own Carl's too. Just see if I can find another like super expensive guy. This isn't working too well. They're your boy.
Yep, my
I don't know.
guy.
But that's a great example of one, right? Because look at like Teddy's numbers all across the board are
Right.
higher.
In his value, I mean, Çalhanoğlu's value is one that he plays for a good team. I'm using air
Well, and a
quotes.
champion
And
team, so it's a little
yes,
different.
he can. The rewards he can win you are going to be similar to that investment. But
So this I love. Okay, this worked out.
Higuain,
No, this worked out.
same player.
This worked out so good. I did not like, obviously Lewandowski's L5. So Lewandowski costing us a cool, let's just call it 7-day average 3 ETH, right? Costing us a cool 3 ETH. Same, like look at like how similar.
Guy.
Or I can go get Iago Aspas, 0.5. So 1/6 of the price,
Yeah.
similar production. I could even shoot a little bit higher with Tadic, still less. Don't buy Higuain after this video. He's supposed to retire in one game. I think he has one game left.
Yeah, but that's going to be
So
one electric game.
this is not touting to go buy Higuain, but it's hysterical to see him on that similar player graph. But we could do the same for baseball, right? Sorare, I don't think it has it yet. You in a lot of ways have that within the projections. But again, if I did Otani, what would be? Is there not really a good predictor? I guess it depends. You have to filter him to like pitcher or outfield, right?
Yeah, so that one's tough, like you said. With Otani, you kind of have to pick where you want to use him. He scores more points, like he's the 13th projected hitter, whereas he's like way down as a pitcher.
Which is crazy, right? Like that he
86th.
goes for. So that just makes no sense. Like, because if you just took it in a vacuum, I'm assuming I could buy number one hitter and number one pitcher for less than Otani and probably add, like you said earlier, you just did hitters, but you added like 1, 3, 5, 6, 8. I'm assuming I could do like 1, 2 on the pitching side and like 1, 2, 3 on the hitting side. Or maybe Judge screws that up. But
Let's see. If we're using this limited 0.14, it's higher than that pitching wise.
in terms of how many we could get for his costs.
Yeah, let's see how many just for fun. 0.024 for Garrett Cole. He's number one.
Okay.
Lucas Giolito doesn't even. I think he's 0.001. 0.01.
That sounds like a good buy for people that are listening.
0.02, 0.01,
And we're just
0.01.
doing limited pricing.
Limited pricing.
Yeah.
I'm just using the top pitchers projected next year. And
Which we're purposely not sharing the screen, by the way. Teaser.
Is that 0.0? No, that's okay. So yeah, 0.146 for Otani, 0.147 will get you the top 12 pitchers.
Right. Which, I mean, little noise there, right? Because we're going to use Otani for our extra spot when he's not pitching.
Sure.
But again, like I was joking.
But that's where the data shows you that he's more valuable as a hitter.
Right. But then it just becomes, well, you know who else is more valuable as hitter? You said what was he as a hitter? 13th?
Yeah,
So the 12 other guys ahead of him are more valuable as a hitter. Like
absolutely.
I would be better off buying 5 of them, buying Giolotto. I almost called him Gigolo. Is that okay? What is called him
That's fine.
Lucas Gigolo? I don't know. But
The way he's pitching right now, he might be better off in that field of work.
not good. Not
Been
good.
bad. Been bad.
But he's projected well next year. Bounce
Yes.
back.
Number 2.
You got to work hard next in the offseason to reach. We need to send him a message. Hey, we got you protected number 2, man. We need a big offseason from you.
Yeah, come on, bro. Don't you know your
Hit,
zips?
hit the gym, hit
Don't you know your
whatever.
zips, bro?
Yeah, but
You even zips?
so all of this, as we're approaching our last little few minutes here, is there's just so many ways to use the data, right? I think we kind of showed it to the football side there. So let's wrap this up with basketball, because we see basketball coming. Beta shows up very bottom of your screen on Sorare. NBA beta, it's coming. NBA is less than 30 days away.
Wild.
Hoops are back. So I think that this NBA announcement's coming. You want to talk about a data-driven sport. People think that baseball is data-driven. Basketball is probably, I'll just tell you from the DFS streets, the most projectable sport out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The most projectable sport.
Probably the most lost without data. Like data guy versus non-data guy.
Well, the cool
Probably
thing
gonna be
about
a golf.
NBA though is that like the data actually doesn't change that much. Like if you just ran like a set of projections to start the season, and then you checked in on it like a month in, obviously there's going to be changes in guys that top 10 is probably going to look pretty darn similar.
Yeah.
Like
So
the order might be different, but this guy like Giannis is going to be there. LeBron's gonna, like if you just went like PER, like Steph
right.
Curry's going to be there. Giannis is going to be there. Yeah.
I think what I would say with the NBA is the gulf between the guy with the data and the guy without the data is going to be bigger than any other sport.
Agreed.
But I think there's less. I think you can create less separation from the guys with data. Like if you take a sample size of all of the people who are using NBA data, it's tough to differentiate yourself from that field with anything other than like having more money.
Well, that's all gonna be. We talked about this. What was like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
but that's gonna depend on the gameplay, how they set the game modes.
Right.
Which, I mean, when I search like NBA so rare, you see like the chatter. Every single chatter is the exact same. That if they don't alter the game mode, so I'm gonna trust that they understand that too, and I think that there might just be a division that says, I'm not going to say my word that you made fun of me, but like spend all your money division, spend your money all-star division or superstar division.
Yes.
But then a lot of focus. And I mean, the coolest thing on the football side is, look at it, what we're seeing in football. They have like specialists. They're starting to roll out specialists in almost every region. So they're going, okay, you can play all-star and spend all your, use all your superstars as much as you want up there. You want to roll out your PSG stacks, that's fine. But here's specialists for those of you that don't want to compete with that. And I mean, maybe that's just where the whole game goes across all the sports.
It would be cool.
I like that.
Cool. I would be less likely to play all-star contests.
Right.
I would.
Well, because you're tactical and your data-driven advantage is those type of things. Unless you kind of also go, hey, I just back to expectation setting, right?
Yeah.
If I go, I'm okay like winning a reward versus winning the whole tournament. I can still enter that and swing with the big guns. And hey, variance happens every once in a while. We saw the Todix super rare won by Powell Trader, right?
Yeah.
With a bunch of guys that we barely know. I mean, sometimes just crazy stuff happens. That's the cool thing about sports.
Right. Yeah. And again, especially baseball.
But yes, baseball or basketball,
random.
We'll have to figure. I'm sure somebody else will do. We'll have to figure out something within data. Probably revisit this topic once basketball comes out. But
I'm not looking forward to tracking who's in and out of the lineup and how many minutes they're going to play. That's on you. I'm making you do that.
I mean, I think got to get somebody smarter than me for that one.
You're
Well,
already gonna be doing it though, aren't you? You still playing? Did you
yeah, I
retire
mean,
fully from NBA
you can
DS?
probably the second kid, because NBA, like the critical time in NBA DFS is 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, which
Right.
once you become a dad of two, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock is called dinner hell, trying to get
Yes.
kids to eat,
Yes.
which is not easy. Then bath time hell. Then like it's just I joked with my wife, like when it turns like 5:30 daily, like 5:30 to 7:30, I'm just like, God help me. Like this is gonna be it's always a rough 2 hours. So I think
Yeah.
that NBA
I believe it.
DFS is just becoming a thing of the past. But again, there's going to be so many places that you can go for projection data and things like that in
Right.
basketball, because there doesn't need to be a lot of tweaking to the
Yeah.
projections. Tweaking happens when XYZ is ruled out. Assuming that Silver NBA isn't a daily game and it is a
Yeah.
weekly game, you're just going to have to go based off of who plays. We're just going to see once the game comes out, and we'll
Go
go from there.
go find Josh Engelman. He'll be playing too.
I mean, there'll be so many good sources. I'm excited. I'm just excited for where Silver is going. This is cool. I hope this episode was fun. I hope it wasn't too many standard deviations away to boring.
Hey. Wow. I got nothing for that. That's good.
We'll end on that one then. Thanks, Hoop, for the time. Again, last reminder, whether you're on any of the pod feeds or if you are on the Sober First Pitch YouTube page, please give us a like and subscribe. It all really helps. Hoop, have a great rest of your day. All right, buddy.
Also the Patreon. Also
And the Patreon. Sorry.
Patreon.
If you
Patreon
want the
slash Sorare
whole
FP.
data, you want all the data. Go
And you
go
get
to
access to me and I'll help you figure out how
Yeah.
you wanna use it.
It'll be a
So
fun time.
yeah.
Check it out. Get in early. It'll be fun.
Yes.
All right, guys.
All right.
Bye.